I have paid off thousands and thousands of dollars worth of debt, and that is not a flex at all. Honestly, I wish a lot of the money that I paid towards debt was actually going towards investments. But a lot of times the money that I pay towards debt, just my monthly credit card, which I pay off every single month. I pay for everything on my credit card. But right now we're currently paying on a car. I paid off student loans. I paid on mortgages. I've paid on interest-free credit cards for the parental properties. So I have some history of paying off debt, and I want to help you guys pay off debt and give you some tips and tricks and just ideas and things that I did in order to pay off debt quickly too. Like, I don't take too long to pay off debt. Now, I have been paying on my student loans for a while, but I really have not focused on them because I've really focused a lot of my money towards investments. I just can't stop investing. I can't stop investing to the market to pay off this 4% student loan. I can't do it. The market is just steadily giving great returns, and I cannot miss that because I plan on retiring in 20 years. So I need to get as much money to that market as possible, and soon the student loans will be paid off. So one of the main ways that I'm able to pay off large amounts of debt, within a year, I think I paid off about $7,000 worth of student loans. A few years ago, I put $10,000 on a interest-free credit card in order to pay off a roof and some yard work that we had to get done. $10,000, and I paid that off within a year, probably within about 7 months. So I don't play when it comes to certain debts, okay? I do not play. One of the main things that I do in order to pay off this debt as fast as possible is I take advantage of extra income. I worked overtime. A few years ago when I had a $10,000 credit card, I was working overtime in the summer. I was going in for 2 or 4 hours of work. On my off days, I was working basically every day. And then when I got this money, I made sure that I put it towards my debt. Because a lot of people might get extra money. You might say, oh, I'm gonna make extra money so that I can pay off this, or I'm gonna make extra money so I can pay off this credit card or pay off this loan that I have. But then when they actually make the extra money, that money goes to fun. That money goes to food or going out or going on vacation, and it's not even going to that debt of what they originally had planned for. So if you are working extra shift, if you're able to make extra money, whether that's working another job, whether that's starting your own business, be sure that you're putting this money to your debts. A lot of times these credit card interest rates are 20, 30%, and the market is giving you a return of about 10, maybe 12% on a good year. So like I said, instead of spending that extra money, I acted as if it did not exist because I was living without that money. On a day-to-day basis, I did not need that extra money. So I made sure to automatically take out the extra money that was coming from overtime, the extra money that was coming from, the Sunday work or whatever. If I made more than I should on a paycheck, I made sure to take that out and have it automatically go to my desk. $10,000 credit card. I had to pay this credit card off within about a year. So I made sure to put the exact amount of money towards it so that it could be paid off within a year. And then I put some lump sums to it. And also your tax returns. Tax returns are a great way to pay off some debts or invest. You really shouldn't get too much money back from your tax returns. And I hate when we get a lump sum back. But when we do, I make sure that we invest that money and we put it somewhere good, or we pay off some debts. I make sure that that money does not go to waste because that is money that could have been in my pockets throughout the year, and more than likely I would have invested that money or I would have paid off debts with it. The key here is to not let that extra income inflate your lifestyle, because it's going to be very tempting when you see an extra $500 or $1,000 in your checking account because you did all this work to spend that on some item that you always wanted or some vacation. But you have to fight that urge. Remember, the goal here is to pay off these debts so you can get to the investing part, and so later down the road you have a retirement and you're able to retire. You don't have to be working well into your 50s or your 60s. The second thing that I do when the main goal is to pay off debt is I cut back spending tremendously. So I stop going out to eat as much. I set a budget for going out to eat, or just stop it at all. Actually, it is very difficult to not go out to eat for a whole month. Like, people will say, just stop going out to eat, but it's not as easy as it sounds, because there are times when you're out and you don't feel like cooking, you just want to go get something. So set a budget for how much you can spend monthly when going out to eat. Say it's $100, $150, so you have $150 or $100 to go out to eat for that month, and do not go over that. So maybe take out cash so you're not tempted to use your credit card. So this is all the cash that I have for going out to eat this month. And especially when it comes to groceries, I paid attention to the grocery bill because these are things that can get out of hand. Groceries can get out of hand, so I made sure to make a list before I go to the grocery store. I made sure to look up recipes where I can use multiple proteins. Say I can use chicken for 2 different meals. I'm going to do that. Always talk about the big 3: housing, transportation, and food. You need to find ways to cut those expenses down so you can have more money going towards debt and less money going towards these expenses. Even today, I'm still shopping insurances or just finding ways to lower my bills, finding deals on my monthly set expenses, whether that's getting a new phone bill, which helped out a lot. I use Mint Mobile, and the actual link is down below for you to get Mint Mobile because it's a great way to lower your phone bill. There's a lot of things that I did to kind of lower my set expenses so that I can then put that extra money towards debt. And that brings us to keeping our core expenses low. Not car, but core. So when I say core expenses, I'm talking about in 2022 or 2023, even at part of 2024, I had a 2002 Toyota Camry. I'll put the video here because I just put in another video. My 2002 Toyota Camry getting hauled away because I got rid of it, but I had my 2002 Toyota Camry. I made my transportation expenses so low. I think I estimated it was like $5 a day I was spending on this Camry. When you talk about gas, when you talk about insurance, even maintenance, it was not a lot of money. So I kept my core expenses low, so then I can put more money towards paying off debt. So when you have an older car, you pay less in insurance. I have a Toyota Camry, so I pay less in gas. That extra money that I've always had, because I've always had this car, I put that towards my debt. That's how I paid off a lot of my student loans. Still have some left, but that's how I paid off a lot of my student loans. That's how I paid off that $10,000 credit card. And then we come to the house hacking advantage. Now, this is probably the key to our family wealth building. This is the key to being able to buy this car that we just bought. This is the key to being able to buy a rental property. We did 3 good vacations this year, and this is really the reason why. It's because we're house hacked. That's one of the main things that you can do in order to pay off these debts is house hack or get a roommate, lower your housing some way, somehow. Our biggest expense for majority of people is your housing. You're paying $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $2,500 a month just for your house. That's including your mortgage, your property taxes, insurance. And we're not even talking about the electricity bill. We're not talking about the gas. We're not talking about the Wi-Fi. Also not talking about the maintenance. So we need to find ways to lower our living expenses. If you're able to find a roommate, get a roommate, and you're going to find out that you have so much extra money left over. You might be able to find a 2-bedroom apartment for $2,000. You can get a roommate. You're now paying $1,000 for your room. But then you might have a 1-bedroom that costs maybe $1,500 or $1,300. So that's still $300 extra that can go towards your debt just because you have a roommate and because you went for that 2-bedroom apartment instead of that 1-bedroom apartment. And then they could also help split bills with you. They can help split the electricity bill and the Wi-Fi bill and all these other things that can really help you achieve your goal of paying off this debt. And like I said, that's something that we do. We live down here, we have someone upstairs to help subsidize housing. So now we don't have to pay for housing or paying not as much as we would. And with that extra money, we can then put that towards paying off our debt. So that was a major reason that I was able to pay off this $10,000 credit card. Or a major reason I'm able to pay off a lot of money when it comes to my loans. Because I was working more, making more money. My money was up here, but my expenses were down here and they were just getting lower and lower. And money was getting more and more. And with that extra money, I was putting that towards the debts. Honestly, the biggest thing is having a budget and knowing where your money is going. And that was one of the main reasons that I was able to pay off a good amount of debt throughout my life. Because I knew where my money was going. I knew how much money should be going to certain categories. Now, I'm not eyeballing the budget every day. I'm not super precise on my budget every month. I generally don't spend more than I'm supposed to, and I know how much I'm supposed to spend monthly. So you need to change your mindset. Treat debt as a mission. Put a certain amount of money towards your debt so they can be paid off in a certain amount of time. So if you want your debt to be paid off in a year, you need to put this specific amount of money to it so that it can be paid off in a year. And with the extra money, throwing that towards your debts. But before you start paying these debts off, make sure that you have some kind of emergency fund when emergencies happen, so you're not using credit cards to pay for emergencies, because they're definitely going to happen. You know, you're sacrificing every day. You're working this overtime or you're working this second job, and you want to make sure that this money goes to something good and not just to some fun thing. You want to make sure that you're doing things for a purpose. You don't want to extend your work life by continuing to get in debt and not pay it off. So you want to pay off the debt as soon as possible and use that extra income to pay it off. So instead of asking if you can afford this, ask, will this item help me or harm me towards my goal? You know, will this car help me or harm me towards my goal of getting out of debt? Will this book bag or will this jacket help me or harm me in my goal of paying off debt? And you're the only one that can answer that question. Paying off debt faster doesn't happen by accident. It's about combining your extra income and cutting your expenses. It's about being intentional to where your money goes. So if you're on your debt-free journey, comment that down below and how much more debt you have to pay off. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, leave a like, subscribe to my my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.